In today's video, we're going to be finishing up Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. In our last video, we left off finding the Playcare Orphanage and waking up after the Nightmare Huggy Wuggy chase scene. Recently, you guys have been loving my shorts and theories that I've been posting about Poppy Playtime, and I love you guys for coming over and checking out the video.
We find cutouts of Mommy Longlegs and Daddy Longlegs and Baby Longlegs out in the next room. After going down a rabbit hole of research, I think that Daddy Longlegs will not be making an appearance in the game because he's already been included in Project Playtime as a Mommy Longlegs skin. So after going down another hole, we have to yank a car to break some boxes and go through a red mist to get to the other rooms. Interestingly, it seems that the race car and Barry the minecart have similar functions within the game. I find it interesting that they actually named Barry in the first place, making me wonder if they actually trapped someone's soul inside the minecart. After unlocking the next area, we have to begin gathering batteries to turn on the power on this half of the side. After exploring some rooms, we find a VHS tape talking about Experiment 1322, aka Doughy the Doughman. Although Doughy doesn't make any appearances in Chapter 3, this foreshadowing definitely sets him up for Chapter 4. We find a hidden room with Kissy Missy reminiscing inside, letting us know that she was actually an orphan there. And this was her room. If we take a closer look at her photos, she's actually with an adult in one of her photos. As we travel up to the second floor, we end up in an abandoned nursery. We find a battery inside a giant plush toy. We plug that bad boy in, then turn on the power to open a door. We find another race car upstairs with the Hour of Joy marked next to it. We yank that race car and it bashes through a door, landing on a ledge, setting on fire. We find another VHS tape of Samuel Lee being claimed as another test subject for Dr. White. After solving some puzzles, we run into this creepy, oversized, smiling critter. We figure out some more puzzles and open a room that has another race car. After opening up the next area, we end up in a room that's covered in red mist, so we have to put our mask on. We find the third battery that we need. We then go back to the oversized, stuffed, smiling critter who is now not looking at us and following us. We take his battery, plug that bad boy in, and turn on the power. We open up a new area, solve a puzzle, and then escape out of the sweet home. Back outside, Kissy Missy attacks us while she's with Poppy. Poppy stops her, and then Poppy proceeds to explain to us why she did what she did in Chapter 2, saying how she needs our help to stop the evil people who have tortured them. I am a little annoyed that these two are just going to sit up here and let me do all the work and fight Catnap alone, but it is what it is. Ollie calls us and we route the power from Home Sweet Home to the generator downstairs. Next up is the school, and we're about to meet one of the biggest psychos in Poppy Playtime history. Ollie calls us yet again to tell us we're not going to be alone in this building and that the person we're going to encounter is not our, and he cuts out, but I think he was going to say friend. Someone named Miss Delight starts to talk over the intercom. We ignore her and proceed further into the school. We find a battery under the TV. You know where this is going. I actually got stuck here for a while, but we end up going into a room where Miss Delight says she recognizes us as someone who used to work here. It's really strange, but she asks us how we're even alive. We make our way through the vent by hoisting ourselves up and getting the final battery to plug in and turn on the power to open up the next section of the school. The next VHS tape we find is about Miss Delight talking about how she wants to find the kids because she wants to kill them all. We maneuver through some vents, and yet again I get stuck in another room until I realize I have to move the shelf. In the following room, we find a Miss Delight cutout that is super creepy. After a quick puzzle, we finally get the generator started, but someone starts to bash it. Voted as the creepiest jump scare in Poppy Playtime and a psycho, Miss Delight is someone you don't want to be friends with. She only starts moving towards you when you're not looking at her or she's out of your view.
What happens next is a maze of looking at her, not looking at her, jump scares, and just trying to get through it without dying. But ultimately, Miss Delight ends up getting crushed by a door. Thank God, because she was the craziest lady I've ever seen. For those that don't know, Miss Delight actually killed all of her sisters, and she stops because she plays dead, basically, and thinks she's tricking us by playing dead. That's how she ended up killing all her sisters. We end up finding a VHS tape titled Stuart and Richie, and we just hear a conversation between the two. What happens next is that you maneuver through some metal platforms using your purple hand, solve a couple puzzles, and ultimately end up seeing the shrine that Catnap has built for the prototype. Start encountering some mini smiling critters, and we have to shoot them with our flare gun to send them away. We find another VHS tape at the tent. This one's about Catnap, and Catnap says that the prototype is coming to save him, while the scientist studying him mocks him, telling him that he's going nowhere. Don't beat yourself up on the next part of the game, because honestly, these smiling critters are coming out from every direction, and it's nearly impossible to get through it on your first try, because you have to learn where they're spawning from and there's an endless array of them. So on top of learning what you have to be doing to get through the puzzle, you have to be avoiding all these little smiling critters that all have a different jump scare, and they're all just immediate insta-kills. After going through the tubes, you end up in a room where you have to push boxes onto 2 buttons on both sides, then come into the middle square and press a button, and then hop out to get to the other side. Going down a spiral staircase, we end up in a pool room, and honestly, I don't know if there's any lore significance to it, but continuing into the next room, we can end up finding Catnap's lair, and then we finally find one of the most tragic characters in Poppy Playtime history. Of course, I am talking about Dog Day. Dog Day was part of the Smiling Critters, but he opposed the prototype and his ideals, and for his betrayal, he ended up being cut in half and hanged and left to rot in a jail cell. He calls us Poppy's angel, and he tells us that there's a million eyes on us right now and we have to be careful. And even while he's being consumed by smiling critters, he warns us to get away and run for our life. Personally, I did everything I could to try and save him, but there was nothing for me to do.
No! Leave me! Please! Just go! Run!
It's pretty heartbreaking to see Dog Day in this state, but as we're backing away, the floor breaks and a chase begins. We have to maneuver through some tubes, and using our jump hand to get over to a ledge where Dog Day can't follow us, and we finally escaped him. Upstairs, we find his cutout, and overall, it looks like he may still be alive. I was recently told that if we finish off a character and we try to play their cutout, it just plays static, but if it keeps playing their voice, then they're still alive.
After solving another quick puzzle, we end up in an office area where we find a VHS tape titled The Hartman Incident. The VHS tape plays Mr. and Mrs. Hartman talking to the head of the play care, Stella Greiber, where they were trying to adopt an orphan named Jeremy, but the only thing on his document left was testing. Mr. and Mrs. Hartman were very frustrated with the event.
Moving through another hallway and into the vents, we end up in a room covered in red mist that's in front of all the heads of play care. Here we have to move our batteries in and out of the doors and power up to unlock the next area, where we also have to gather batteries and finish a puzzle. We unlock a room where we climb the cabinets to get back in the vents so we can get outside to the dome, but first we have to get out of the room where we need to find batteries, and we're stopped by Catnap. We end up having a strange dream where it's clearly explained that every experiment was clearly an orphan before. We can hear Poppy's voice as she's explaining thoroughly how we have to end this because this is pure evil. We also get a glance at Huggy Wuggy for some reason. We wake up and hear Ollie calling us while Catnap says he's coming for us. After getting back outside, we plug in the counselor's office power back under the statue. Now we have to route power from the Sky Dome where Poppy was. Ollie sends us a big blue battery to power up the gas production zone in order to reverse the gas. Right when we were about to plug it in, Nightmare Catnap appears in a cloud of red mist. If I'm being fairly honest, I died a lot here. After finally doing a bunch of searching and searching every square inch of the place, we find a button that helps us escape. While we're going up, Catnap's hot on our tail, climbing the cage and chasing us. My man looks purely diabolical. Welcome to the final boss battle with Catnap. This boss battle consists of playing peekaboo, or gathering batteries and making sure you're putting them in the correct slots in order to make sure you're blocking off the correct area to stop Catnap from coming. There's a lot of hallucinations, and you have to shoot your flare gun to decide if it's the real Catnap or not. After giving Catnap the old 1-2 a couple times, for what feels like hours, you charge up the middle where you charge up your green electric hand and zap Catnap with it where he slowly incinerates. But then the prototype creeps his hand out from the top, stabbing Catnap through the mouth and carrying him up into the vents. In a definite twist, the prototype's most loyal follower is instantly killed. I guess that's one way to pick up your friends. Ollie congratulates us on defeating Catnap and getting closer to defeating the prototype. Then we finally plug in the blue battery and restart the gas production machine to reroute the gas. Next up, we meet with Poppy, who ends up showing us a red VHS tape called The Hour of Joy. The Hour of Joy displays some footage showing the toys attacking workers and tourists. Some notable ones being
being Huggy Wuggy, Boxy Boo, Miss Delight, Kissy Missy, Mommy Longlegs, Catnap, and the Smiling Critters. Next, Poppy tells us we have to dive even further into the compound, while Kissy Missy pulls the lever to let us go down. I try to hold Kissy Missy's hand before I go down there to give her some comfort, and as me and Poppy are riding down, we hear Kissy Missy scream before Poppy can finish her sentence. We try to ride back upwards to help her, but by that time, the chapter's already over. A lot of people theorize that the one who attacked her was Huggy Wuggy, but I believe it was probably the prototype. In Chapter 4, when we encounter Kissy Missy and Poppy again, the prototype is hot on their tail, so I believe it was the prototype. That concludes Chapter 3. Honestly, guys, this was a huge turning point in the Poppy Playtime franchise. Everything just went to crazy town. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. Thank you guys for watching, and if you haven't already, watch our Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 first playthrough, or watch some of our other cool videos. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.